In this video, I bought 10 more TEMU tools for less than £10. Same as the last video, I'm not sponsored. All of these things have been purchased with my own money. So let's get cracking. Let's see if we can get ourselves a bargain. The first thing we've got is this height gauge. Now this is designed to measure the height or the depth of certain tools, things like table saws, routers, drill presses, things like that. It only set me back £5.78, so let's give it a go. It looks good, it feels good, it's all made of metal and you've got like a little nailed knob here to keep it in place. If we see this a bit more closely, you can see there's two different scales here. Slight difference, you've got one where you'd measure from the bottom of this plate, that's where you'd measure the height of routers or table saws, and then on the left side you've got it where you'd measure from above the plate. So if you're setting the depth stop of a drill press or something like that where you'd come in from the top, that's where you'd use that left side for. I'm going to try this on my router. Just going to see if I can measure how tall that bit is sitting at the moment. Let's see if we can get that down to 2 centimeters and we'll measure that. That's probably about right. Right, let's see how deep that's made it. 20.8. So we're 0.8 of a millimeter out. Right, let's try it this way. So this piece of wood is 38 millimeters tall. 35, 36, 37. Looks like it's just under 38. Although in all fairness, this is just below 38 millimeters as well. I think that's actually pretty accurate. I'm going to do it again, but this time I've set it to 1 centimeter tall and I've locked it, and I'm going to adjust the bit to this rather than making this loose and then adjusting it to the bit, if that makes any sort of sense. Right, that should be better. 10.4 millimeters. So we're quite literally off 0.4 of a millimeter. And if you're curious to see what 0.4 millimeters looks like, it's about that. So it's tiny. And I reckon that 0.4 millimeters would be just because I've eyeballed this onto one. I mean, there could be a difference between that, let's say, to that. And I reckon that's that very small difference. So overall, I would recommend this. It looks good, it feels good, it's made of a nice strong metal. The only thing you need to remind yourself is that every time you adjust this, you're adjusting it just by eyesight alone. There are no pre-made slots or anything like that, so you can't get a consistent number every time. But I was only 0.4 millimeters off. And over time, I might start to understand where exactly to put that on that line. I might have gone just above, I might have gone just below. It's all down to human error of this, really, I think. For £5.78, I'm gonna recommend it. The next thing I've got is this pocket hole jig, and this came in at a cost at £9.77. And if I recall, this is the only pocket hole jig I could find on TEMU in this style for under £10. And to be honest, it shows. It just comes in this like really scrappy box here. And this is the guide. You can see that the thread just looks battered. I have tried it. It does actually spin all the way. It's just got that, you know, really low price sort of painted metal sort of vibe to it. It does also come with a bag full of screws. Oh, I say full, I think it's probably about 10 in there. And then these screw hole plug things. Got a drill bit, which again just feels like the most bog standard bit. But you also do have the drill bit itself. Now, if it's anything like my current pocket hole jig, you put a thin piece of metal at the bottom, usually it's like a coin, and then tighten the grub screw against the drill bit. I love not having a quick release lock. I can already tell from the get-go this is going to move around on me. There are 2 screw holes at the bottom so you can secure it down. The screws you need are actually tiny, and I don't actually have screws that small, believe it or not. So we're just going to hold it in place. That was absolutely awful. The drill bit just wouldn't drill. I think its issue is that the angle is very shallow. Is that the right word? Where it doesn't go too deep into the wood. I don't think that's very good. We'll do a second one, maybe along here, or do 2 or 3 more, and then we'll try and join it to a piece of wood. That is horrible. What? It's like it's drilling into metal. So I found what that horrible metal drilling sound was, and that was, I was actually drilling into the pocket hole jig itself. Not only is it taking the lacquer away, it's actually at the bottom here, tried to pocket hole jig itself. My pocket hole jig has pocket holed itself. That is absolutely garbage. Just for funsies, we're gonna drill it in anyway. And there you go. Doesn't even sit flush with the wood. Same in this side. Yeah, not good at all. Even the drill bit looks like it's starting to get damaged. For £9.77, do not get this. This is absolute garbage. There's a reason why it's probably the cheapest one on TEMU. If you really want a pocket hole jig, then spend the money, get a branded one. Trend do a pretty good pocket hole jig. Do not get that. That is junk. That's going straight in the bin. The next thing I've got is this center hole locator, and this came in at a cost of £6.35, and it comes with 3 different sized drill adapter pieces that screw in and out of the top. So to use it, just dump it down and twist it clockwise, and then you can use the bearings to run up and down the wood. You can always stick a pencil down one of the holes and then you can run a line. Set that down. Four holes, pretty good, although the finish of the actual entry is not that good. So I did a couple of freehand, and I think it's actually just the drill bit. That's the reason why it's so scuffed. But it works, and they're all in a line. Overall, it's pretty good. Sometimes it can feel a bit finicky trying to hold it down as you're drilling. For £6.35, I'm going to recommend it. The next thing we've got are these Neodymium or Neodymium magnets. And these come in at a cost at £5.38, and it looks like you get about 14 of them. They're not necessarily a tool, but they're just ideal if you just stick them on your bandsaw or stick them on your table saw, stick them on something magnetic, and then you can attach other magnetic things to it. Who would have thought? I find them useful. Just don't put them anywhere sensitive like circuitry or anything like that, because these things are actually pretty strong. But I recommend them. The next thing I've got is this small level, and this only came in at a cost of £1.61. It's got 3 different bubbles, vertical, horizontal, and a 45-degree angle. But the one thing I really like about this one is that it's got a magnetic bottom to it. So if you're leveling anything where it's magnetic, you can stick it to it, or you can just put it somewhere when you want to store it. I did have to Google how to check to see if a level is level. It's never really occurred to me, but levels can actually be out if they're not sitting right in the frame. There are a couple of tests you can do, so let's give that a go. So the other test is if you put it onto a flat workbench. It doesn't have to be level, but just reference where that bubble is. So at the moment, I'd probably say it's maybe on that second line on the right side. It's just touching the second line. And the test is if you rotate it and put it in the exact same position, now look at where that bubble is. It's almost touching here. And the test is that would show that this is actually slightly out of level, or these bubbles aren't fitting in that frame properly. I think you can kind of see it as well where it doesn't look entirely flat. You can see it sort of starts off low here and then rises up towards the middle and then back down again, almost like a mountain. I want to say it's due to the magnetic parts aren't actually flush. You can see just there, that magnetic strip is actually poking out the frame a little bit. Although you can push it back down, that's still one of them things that might throw you off if you're not looking out for it. In fact, you can see the frame is a lot worse there. It's almost like you can really see the 2 pieces where they're connected. So my overall opinion of this thing is that it's inconsistent. That last test we did showed that it wasn't accurate, or the horizontal bubble wasn't accurate. So I did a second test where I bumped it up against a wall. I drew a line underneath it, rotated it 180 degrees. I referenced it on one corner of the line and then leveled it again and drew another line. The test is if the lines stay straight and touching, it's level, but if they start to separate between themselves over time, then that means it's not level. But the difficulty of that is it's only 4 inches long, so the amount of room for error, it's very minimal and it's difficult to test. That, given the fact that there's a small sort of bump to it, and that magnetic strip doesn't sit completely flush with the bottom. Kind of doesn't really sell it to me, I'll be honest. Overall, I'm not going to recommend buying that. So the next thing I have, no, it's not a piece of red Leicester cheese. This is a magnetizer and a demagnetizer. This only came at a cost of £1.89, and supposedly, what it says online, is that it can magnetize your tools. I don't know how that works. That sounds like magic, but let's give it a go. Okay, so for my test, I've got a screwdriver, a metal one, of course, and at the moment, it's not magnetic at all. So if we look at this, it's a bit difficult to see, but here it says magnetize, and here it says demagnetize. Now, supposedly, if you put the screwdriver through the magnetize bit a couple of times, like this, it should magnetize it. Let's try that. No way. No way that works. How? So for the top bit, the demagnetizer, you put the screwdriver in, and then they've got little steps here which you go up one by one. There's a good YouTube video out there which explains why it does this. And then now that should demagnetize the screwdriver. No way that's worked. I think for someone with a smooth caveman brain like me, that's absolutely magic. I have heard that you do lose the magnetization after a while. I don't know how long that takes. And if you're wondering what the demagnetizing bit would do, I think it's more designed for things like circuitry, or like when you're taking apart a PC where you don't want it to be magnetized. I think that's kind of what it's for. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments, but for £1.89, that's cool as hell. I love that, and I'm gonna recommend it. The next thing I've got are these 5-inch soft sponge pads for the orbital sander. You get 2 within a pack, and the pack only costs £1.81. Hook and loop system at the top. You attach it to your current orbital sander, then put the sandpaper on top of that. And it's mainly used for sanding around corners or curved areas, because these soft sponge pad contours of that piece of wood. You wouldn't want to use them for flattening a surface. My main concern was the durability. I just thought that after using and abusing it for some time, the foam would start to tear up and fly off, or the glue lining that holds the hook and loop system together would start to fray off. I've used them for about 10 minutes in total. Not a lot, but nothing has gone wrong with this. It seems to hold up its shape. So the cost of pretty much 90p each, I don't think you can go much wrong with it. I'm going to recommend. So the next thing I've got is this universal socket. Now, you've probably seen this sort of thing before. This definitely strikes me as something I'd see on the TikTok shop, if you know what I mean. It only costed me £3.32, and the whole idea of this is it's got prongs in the middle that suppress in, and these conform to different size bolt heads. So you should be able to drive bolts from 7mm all the way up to a 19mm head. I've got a little test set up for it, so let's give it a go. The first bolt we're going to drive is I think it's an M6 bolt with a 12mm size head to it, if anyone's wondering. It's got some construction lumber here, so let's see how good it works. It's not bad. I've not completely sunk it, and I've kind of put it in at an angle. Let's try that again. God, I went a bit overkill of that. That's completely sunk it, and I've dented the wood. Well, I think it's safe to say impact driving is not my best skill. The next bolt is a M10, and this has a 16mm size head. It's a little bit difficult to first get it set up because the bit wobbles a little bit on the head. I'm a little bit scared to go any deeper than that because I'm scared I might drive it into the wood. It's working so far. Oh, that was probably the best one yet. All the bits seem to still be in place. I was half expecting them to explode by now. The last bolt I've got is an M12 18mm sized head. So this is almost maximum capacity for this. Let's try that. I'm clearly not very good at this because I keep doing them at an angle, but it's worked. I've got a different piece of wood here. I'm going to drive this bolt into this piece of wood as many times as I can, and then we'll check back to see if the prongs are damaged at all. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's what I was expecting. Oh no, that fixed it. Okay. All the prongs are still in place. I have found that after a couple of holes, some of the prongs like to sort of stay in, but then once you kind of like stick your finger in and sort of move the prongs around, they kind of flip back into position. So I don't think that's an issue. So this is what I mean. You can see that there's 3 prongs down there that are sort of stuck in position. So it looks like if this main bolt here is stuck down, then that means some of the other prongs can stick down with it. But if you spring that back up, it brings all the prongs back up with it. And failing that, you can also just push them back into position from below it. Overall, I am quite impressed with this little thing. If you're going to ask me at the start of the video which tool I expected to break first, it probably would have been this one. I've seen videos online where people have used this for one bolt and all of the prongs inside it just absolutely exploded and went everywhere. Would you use this in a professional setting, like if you're a mechanic taking parts off cars? Probably not, no. I can't imagine it will last that long. But for the average DIY like me, taking a bolt off here and there, I think that's going to do you for the most part. I think that's definitely worth the money. I'm going to recommend. The next thing we've got are these Countersink bits. These come in at a cost of £3.42 and you get 5 within a pack. My first impression of these are that this is probably another sort of mass-produced thing that they make in China that every company sells on TEMU. So I don't think these are going to be as good as anyone else's on TEMU. It does also come with an Allen key because you can actually loosen these grub screws up and you can actually increase the length of the drill bit so you can pick the ideal depth. So the one thing I've noticed with these Countersink bits is that the actual area which makes the Countersink part is actually quite narrow. So I compared it to one I bought from Amazon last year, and you can see the different sized heads. In fact, the one from Amazon, the head is much larger, so it's going to give a much larger circumference when you go to make that Countersink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use both branded drill bits. I've got TEMU on this side and then Amazon on the next. I'm going to use the exact same size drill bit so you get a feeling of what I mean about the actual size of the Countersink. So we'll start off with the number 6, the TEMU one. And what I'll do is each hole I'll go a little bit deeper so you get a bit of an understanding of it. Right, let's do the Amazon. Drill's a lot better, that's for sure. Let's go on to the number 10. So this is the number 10 TEMU bit. Onto the Amazon number 10. Oh, I actually did them the wrong way around there. This one is the TEMU one this time. Hence why it felt so hard to push in. So now you can probably see what I was on about here. So we'll start off with the Amazon bits. Bear in mind these 6 holes here are all made of the same size bit. You can see here you've got a really large circumference for the head of that screw. Same again here and same again there. It's actually almost turned it into a hole for a plug. Whereas we look at the TEMU ones, the actual hole it makes, the circumference of the crater or the Countersink, whatever you want to call it, it's a lot more shallow. There's not a lot of room to hide the head of that screw there. If we move on to the next one, where these ones are the Amazon ones, you can see again, big crater here, deeper and even more deeper. That's probably where you'd use them for plugs. But again, TEMU, you're getting that same thing. There's not a huge amount of countersink there. I'll throw a few screws in there and see if it hides the head. Right, so I've got 2 of the same size screw heads. I'm gonna first drive one into the Amazon one. And that seems to get a nice countersink on. Now, the issue is of the TEMU one is that I know for a fact that's not actually gonna sink in that first hole. Yeah, it's just sitting proud of it. I mean, yes, I'm using an impact driver, so I could easily push that screw further into the wood, but I don't think that's kind of the idea of it, I'll be honest. I'll try a different hole. Yeah, see, that one's better. So you could probably fill that in with a plug. Right, so I've got 2 more longer screws this time. Let's go for the Amazon one again. Done a good job. And then, if the TEMU ones all seem to look the same to me, I'll just go for the first one as well. Not bad, in fact, very similar result actually, I'll give it that. And I've also drilled it into my table, which is good. Overall, my opinion on these bits are a little bit subjective. I think it comes down a lot to personal preference, whether or not you like a large countersink area or not. For me personally, I much preferred the Amazon bits. I much preferred the larger circumference of that countersink, and they also drilled a little bit better. I had to use less force when using the impact driver with them. This is more of a comparison to you guys, the differences that you can get with a countersink bit. So just pay attention when you're going to buy them. They might come with a really narrow head, but they might also come with a larger head. So just bear that in mind whenever you go to purchase them. That being said, would I recommend them? I'll be honest, I'm gonna say no. I think you could probably get some better quality ones online somewhere else, or some branded ones. But for me, I'm gonna say no. The last thing I've got is this miniature hand drill, along with some drill bits. And this only came at a cost of £2.32. I've never hand drilled before, and my expectations for this are pretty low, but let's give it a go. So it comes with 10 different drill bits that go from 0.8 millimeters all the way to 3. And the way this works is there's like a small chuck that you can twist the screwdriver, and it sort of squeezes that bit together. So let's try that. I'm gonna try that with let's try it with the biggest drill bit first. Let's proper test it. So one thing I've kind of found from the get-go is that this top bit here, it should spin. And the idea is that you can hold this or hold it with your thumb or just hold it in place, and it spins at the top, and that's what helps you twist the middle bit here. And I've been sort of playing with it off camera for a little bit, and it's completely seized up. I cannot get that to move at all. And that is its design purpose. I've got a screwdriver which has the exact same feature, and you can see how easily that spins in comparison. You can hold that down, you can twist, and that's what it should do. Whereas this is completely stuck already. I don't know if I've broken it, but it just completely feels like it's seized up. So it's almost, I've lost that feature already. Right, let's try a hole here. Got it as tight as I can. See, without that bit at the top, it's really hard to actually get a good spin on it without having to really push down with my palm. It's really uncomfortable though, it's digging into my palm. If I had the spinny thing, I'd hold that down and I'd be twisting this bit at the same time so I can actually get a good spin on it. But I'm just kind of having to put loads of force into it at the moment. Yes, it's drilled the hole and it looks pretty clean, but I mean, it's horrible to use, I'll be honest. Right, so we're gonna opt in for a smaller drill bit instead. This is the 1mm drill bit. Let's give that a go. So far, so good. I kind of feel like the pressure I'm putting down into it is what's making the hole, as opposed to it actually drilling. Seems to be working. Again, it's uncomfortable with this tip bit not actually spinning. Yeah, I do kind of feel like I'm pushing into the wood as opposed to drilling it. So like if I wasn't to drill and I just to push it in, Okay, point proven. Yeah, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. They bend really easily. Right, so after definitely not breaking the last bit, I've put a 2mm in, so let's see if we can get any good result with that. I think it's working. It's definitely a combination of pushing down quite hard and drilling. I mean, once it makes its little hole, it's a lot easier after then, but even then, that's just really uncomfortable to use. It's made the hole, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna criticize it on making holes, because it does make holes. It's just the process of getting to that point is just really uncomfortable, and in fact, it's actually marked my hand. Again, the hole isn't bad. It just takes a lot of time and it's really uncomfortable. So I tried drilling a few more times with this thing and I just couldn't get used to it. And I think it comes down to a combination between the top bit is completely seized up now. I can't get it to spin whatsoever. And that's what usually is better for hand fatigue. That tied in with the fact that the drill bits just seem really blunt. They don't drill at all. It's just a horrible user experience. The idea of it is really good. And I'm sure there are probably some good brands out there that make this thing and it's really good quality and you could probably get a good hole out of it. But with this particular drill, I'm not going to recommend it. And that is the end of the video. Overall, I think we had some really good tools and some not so good tools. I think we had a really good variety this time around. I feel it's always necessary to say, but I'm not sponsored by TEMU. I'm not affiliated. I've bought all of these things with my own money. I don't think anyone's going to sponsor me to test a £2 magnetizer for them. If you like this video, then please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I've just hit 2,000 scubs. Oh, I'm getting heat stroke. 2,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed so far. I might make another one of these videos, or I might make another two, because there are a few more tools I want to show you guys. And then perhaps we'll move on to another video where I test tools under £30 instead. And hopefully we can get some really cool tools going then. Until the next video though, I'll see you later. Cheers.